guys, welcome back to Think Shank, where we tackle questions about sports that aren't raised nor explored enough as far as we can tell. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at ThinkShank and email us at thethinkshank@gmail.com. I'm Skyler Reinhardt, your personal NBA junkie, philosopher, and tour guide, and today, oh boy, we are doing it half for clout and half for sanity because there has been, there's just been a lot that's happened and a lot to reflect on and a lot to sort of explore and analyze. So all of this excitement and intensity for the last third of the season, more or less, are kind of killing me. And if you're watching this in the future, you can probably notice there's a lot I want to get off my chest. So you can find me personally on Twitter at Reinhardt Skyler. That's ReinHardtSkyler, no A's, and Instagram at Skyler Sam, SAM Reinhardt. So what we want to do here is what I'm calling winter break takes. Obviously a reference back to school. Winter over there is, it's a little bit sided as well, but it's not perfectly even. Same thing with this. We have played about 2/3, a little more than 2/3 now, of the regular season. And so the original vision for this series was to get it out before the conclusion of All-Star break. Clearly was not able to do that, having a day job and learning this super fun, realm and skill set, basically, with producing video is what it is. So sorry I'm a little bit late, but I really, really think that this series, while it is pretty dense and pretty detailed, I think it is going to be very insightful, even with a lot of the statistics pulling from kind of Wednesday, Thursday last week, right before we were supposed to resume. But directionally, thematically, I really, really think this is going to be insightful for everyone. All right. So concept here, winter break takes, is to pump the brakes and take a look around. We want to answer this question. What have we seen from this year's contenders so far? And here's the framework that I developed to motivate the answer for it. So number one, the storylines for each of the contending teams, what is kind of defined, trades, emojis, whatever. The finalized rosters, glimpses of the strengths, weaknesses that have stuck out to me, both on the court as well as intangibles. And then, of course, the improvement areas to close out in the regular season. So I have, verbally, audio, video, I want to walk through sort of my thoughts and everything there. But importantly, I want to call out, check the pinned files on my socials. So I will be uploading these sort of one-page summaries, executive summaries, if you will. That's going to organize a lot of my findings in the format that I just outlined for each one of the contending teams. I just wanted one view for each of the teams. If you don't have time to listen to all this stuff, and I know it's pretty dense and pretty long, so I am not going to take it personally, but I am just a very, very passionate believer and harbor of radical transparency. I think it is amazing that people, talk about things and bring up statistics and bring up analysis and things like that. But personally, I just find it really hard to keep things straight and actually log things. And so, it's not necessarily about dumping a bunch of stuff on you. I just want it there for reference. So if you, of course, want to scrub through this video or episode, or not the episode, you just play which episode you want, but if you want to just check out those files and take a look there as well, there probably will be a little bit more detail than I'm going to cover even in each one of these episodes, but wanted to share that with you guys. So at least we're all looking and reading off of the same page. And also, it should be helpful to reference once the regular season is done. So without further ado, I said the thing about statistics from last week, so without further ado, please enjoy this episode. We are covering a lot. So thank you so much for tuning in, and let's think Shank. Hey, what up, guys? So welcome back. We are onto the Nuggets. All right. It is going to be pretty short here. I know it is virtually a week after All-Star break resumed, and we are now in the last third of the season. The reason I bring that up again is because the first 2/3 of the season, it has felt like they are more or less coasting, and hey, the reigning champs lifestyle, baby, is what it's all about. Don't get it twisted. Jokic is still he's definitely still the odds favorite to win MVP. He's still phenomenal. If anything, he is actually getting better, which I will get into, but I just want to give that disclaimer off the top. This one is going to be shorter and quicker. If you are following along or have been following along, first of all, I salute you. You are getting a deep, dark glimpse into the inner workings of my brain. So, let's just jump into it. Again, at the time of me synthesizing all of this and pulling all these numbers and whatnot, the original vision was to get this out before the All-Star break resumed. It is now 6 days after that. Having a day job is hard. Learning how to do video editing is hard, but really fulfilling. Anyway, I don't want to complain. I know this is out of date, is what I'm trying to say. I'm looking right now at the standings. They're not even in fourth anymore. They were in third. They are one game ahead of the Clippers now. So, whoopee. I have them here as the fourth in the West, so sue me. Let's do it. All right. For the season, they are 36-19, and as of 2024, they are 13-8. Their net differential overall has been 10th, and this year it's been 12th. Offensive rating of 12th for the season, and then this year that has dropped to 14th. Their defensive rating has been also 12th for the season and has dropped to 16th this year. Your starting lineup is Jamal Murray, KCP, MPJ, Aaron Gordon, and Nikola Jokic. Off the bench, you've got Reggie Jackson, Christian Brown, Peyton Watson, DeAndre Jordan, and then recently Zeke Naji, who I will be frank, I really forgot was on the roster. And hey, I'm happy for the dude. I remember, I think it was Coach Nick for B-Ball Breakdown, had an interview with him or something a while back. And the dude seemed really, really cool. And honestly, I just totally forgot he existed as an entity until the recent games. And I was like, whoa, you're a stretch 4, kind of, potential 5? I don't know. Good for the kid. I don't know. I got to take a look at some of his stats. I really didn't include him in this analysis, but something to note. So, season summary. What are the biggest storylines for the Denver Nuggets in the 2024 season? Sleeping Giant / reigning champs lifestyle, baby, is what I have first. It is just... What is this way to say this? I guess one of the biggest compliments you can give great teams is that when you feel like they are coasting and they are still 10th in the league in net differential, that must mean they're pretty good. I guess that's probably fair. That being said, I know post All-Star break, within the last 6 days or so, they had an absolute beatdown on the Warriors. And I still have to, I got to rewatch the second half, the first half, but I basically just watched the end of that one, as well as the highlights. It seemed like, and NBA Twitter isn't the greatest place for anthropological assessment and documentation and accurate representation of things, but it seemed like Jokic absolutely pulverized the entire team. I will say something that really caught my eye specifically was none other than Draymond Green going on his podcast the same night and saying multiple times in the same short episode the line, I had no answers for Jokic or Joker. And he's like laughing, and then at another point, he also says, while he was saying that other line, he was like, I gotta laugh about it, otherwise I'm gonna cry, so I'm gonna laugh. And I'm like, yo, I'm not actually sure how many human beings in existence can get that man to say that. I mean, of course, in his Draymond way, I think he said in the very beginning something like, I've had my good games against you, blah, 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 and then proceeds to just wave proverbial white flags left and right. So I think he had, whatever, it was like 29, 16, and 16 or something. I think that was the game where he dropped that. It's significant because the Warriors were really on the upswing. Their breakdown is coming soon. But, they had a lot of momentum, and it sounded like the Nuggets just stepped on their throats. And, of course, Draymond showing that much respect over to Jokic is a big deal, I would say. So, I say all that to say it feels like they are turning up the heat. And I don't know how else to say this. I think that they are good enough that they could actually just do that and still cakewalk to another title. I say that inclusive of Boston, who is absolutely shredding everybody within eyesight, arm's length, whatever. They are obviously the best in differential in offense and defense in literally every single statistic. And I still just feel like this Denver team could easily, relatively speaking, I don't want to make it sound ridiculous, but it's within the realm of possibilities that is less than a 6-game series, even in the finals. I'm not kidding. And I'll get to some of the stats and why that is a very bold take given what we have seen so far, but I digress. The second storyline is Brown became Brown plus Watson, and I guess Najee now. But, of course, they lost Bruce Brown, who was on the championship roster last year. It was time for the boy to get paid. He had a great season last year. He went over to Indiana, who then flipped him to get Siakam, so now he's on my Raptors, and I'm so glad we kept him. Everyone was like, dude, why don't you just trade Bruce Brown and, race to the bottom type of thing? I know we have some picks and stuff that we need to, win whatever the record thing is, so if we're below, then we end up actually converting the pick for whatever. That whole shit show of a process and apparatus I don't really understand. I need to, though. But anyway, Bruce Brown's gone. And what did the Nuggets do? And why is that relevant? Well, the Nuggets did what the Nuggets do is internally develop. They are very much we trust our trainers, we trust our development, we trust our older, better guys, established guys to help develop the younger guys, even when we are, even when our sights are on winning a championship again, we trust them. And so the first guy, Christian Brown, he is more in that small forward slot, I would say, shooting guard or small forward. I mean, him and Watson usually goes somewhere in the forwards, so Brown is, coming in for KCP or Michael Porter Jr., Watson, probably Michael Porter Jr., more Aaron Gordon, that sort of stuff. But Christian Brown, high flyer, white kid out of Kansas, I think I'd have to double check this stat. I could be making this up. He at least has to be very close to this, but I think he averaged the most minutes, or at least totaled the most minutes played by a rookie in the postseason last year. Granted, when you are on the championship winning team, you will literally have more opportunity to play more minutes. So it is what it is. Maybe it's a minutes per game thing. That would probably be it. Skyler, good work. But he actually played relatively meaningful minutes. I mean, I think it was it could have been more than 20 minutes a game, but his whole game, at least last year, was predicated on his hyper high-flying athleticism. If you've watched the Nuggets play that much, if you watch the Nuggets play at all in the past 48 months, you will know The Jokic and Jamal game is what it is, but the Jokic and Aaron Gordon / whoever the forwards are, basically, that connection is low-key just as incredible. The slightest sense of commitment from a double team or a defender turning his head excuse me, turning his head a little too far or holding it a little too long away from Aaron Gordon in the corner, Michael Porter Jr. from the corner, Christian Brown from the corner. Their whole thing is their forwards need to be high flyers and hyper athletes, because Jokic is the best passer, maybe ever, already, unclear, but thing is, when you're 7 feet tall and you are so cerebral with passing, it makes it a lot easier when you're 7 feet tall to do these sorts of things. So you see crazy highlights of Jokic just sensing, double teams and whatever, and mental mapping of like where everybody is at all times. Christian Brown was a huge benefactor of that, and obviously he's not quite Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon's like 6'9", 6'10", right? Huge body. Well, it's not just for him, like the length and height stuff. He actually just has like a build like a linebacker or something. So he's a big high flyer rim rocker. Christian Brown, obviously not the same exact profile. He's like 22 or something. But again, the hyper athletic stuff, cutting baseline and slashing, that sort of stuff. Basically exactly what Bruce Brown did last year. So he's still around. I think he had a relatively underwhelming step forward this year. I'll be honest, I'm not personally sure the extent to which that is... Oh my gosh, sorry. The extent to which that has been due to opportunity versus actual, like lack of like fuck ups. Basically, are you given enough opportunity to showcase that you can do other things, or if not, are you just literally, it's just hard to tell. So, I think on what I personally have noticed though is on ball he does not seem as much more confident as I would have liked to have seen based on last year. Last year it was like very rarely is he self-creating and kind of, self-initiating, that kind of stuff. Oh my God. But this year it has felt relatively similar. All these hit-ahead passes and things like that, and again, the cutting and the lob threats and stuff, he's obviously very talented and able to do because he's very physically gifted, but I guess it was mostly the on-ball stuff for me. I was really excited to see him maybe take a step closer to the Michael Porter Jr. stuff. I don't think he's a tremendous outside shooter. That is what it is. And Denver, as a team, actually doesn't even shoot that many outside shots. But we will see, especially in this last third, as Denver shores up how it wants to be playing in this postseason. I was actually literally just listening to a podcast that had a guest appearance, whatever, from a Denver Nuggets media member who was just, giving some thoughts or whatever on the team. And he was saying that as far as the game plan for the Nuggets for this last stretch of regular season is not necessarily right to be hunting home court, but they want to be maximizing and optimizing the ways that they want to play with the roster that they have. So, your Zeke Najee's, your Christian Browns, and your Peyton Watsons are at the top of that list. Who's going to play with who, on what rotation? Are they going to, should they be getting more reps with Reggie Jackson, the backup guard, and all those things? Okay, cool. Lastly, I want to talk about Watson, who is the other very young player on the roster. Najee is young as well. I'm actually not sure how many years he's been. Oh, God. I'm so sorry, guys. It is that time of afternoon where we are just hitting that wall. Yuck. Excuse me. All right. Peyton Watson. First of all, 6'9". Maybe the longest wingspan I have seen in proportional assessments just aka me looking and squinting at my computer and or TV. I know I made a lot of noise about Jaden McDaniels, for example. You got him, Alexander Walker, even Derek Jones Jr. Just like these not super big frame or whatever, big frame guys, at least the top to bottom here. As far as muscle and actual size, guys like Aaron Gordon or Luka or like Paolo, like these dudes that are just like Julius Randle, who like Julius Randle might literally be shorter than Peyton Watson. Julius Randle could break Watson in literal half with his bare hands probably. But Watson could probably stuff the shit out of his shots because, again, his reach is insane. So, what I like the most about Watson that I would broadcast out, goddamn, is primarily motor. Yes, he's very young. I think he's technically a second year. He might actually be a rookie though. I should know these things. I'm not sure. Whatever. Take your pick. Motor though. This dude is in the Daniel Gafford family tree of if this dude gets an and one on you or a nice finish or a lob finish or something, he is going to yell and let you know about it, which I love, especially in the younger players or whatever. I know I just extolled and lauded the Thunder guys, the really young guys, for not being too high or too low. They are a very, very regimented, systematic team. Not that the Nuggets aren't, but I think what makes this cool to me is that as far as all of the playmaking and really how the system and scheme works, I think Watson is going to just have an easier time playing off of Jokic and playing off of the focus and pressures on, the other guys, the other stars on the roster. And so basically I just think there's less risk of that edge and juice end up backfiring on you. And especially with the way that at least I have seen them try to use him is in these hyper athletic, fast, like transition, jumping, a little bit of self-creation, but it's a lot of the slashing, transition, finishing through contact, that kind of shit where like I just think juice like actually just kind of matters more. Yeah, it's sweet to be fired up when you're just bombing shots, but like, if your game is to be physical, I almost think you have to be kind of fucking crazy and lit sometimes. And so anyway, I really like that. It translates to the hustle as well. So defensive assignments, he's never shy. Always, running all over the place, hustling his ass off. Same with Christian Braun. So I really like that, and I like his build. Other than that, I haven't really noticed too many other things with both of them. I don't see them really like handling the ball that much. Thinking about things like usage and whatever else. Excuse me. I don't think it'll be that high up there. It'll be a don't miss open shots and time your cuts really well for me, Nikola Jokic, to hit you and you just be a huge, huge target. And when we get a defensive rebound, you need to be the first person to cross half court. Run really, really fast. All right. Let's actually dive into the team scheme stuff now. Okay, great. Strengths. Number 1, shooting. All mid-range, they are 5th in the league. You've got your Jamals and Jokic's. They just don't miss, really, generally speaking. Schematically, they are 6th in the league in offensive rebounding, and they are 3rd in the league in putback plays per miss. So, crashing the offensive boards, getting putback opportunities. One of Jokic's superpowers that you have probably heard about so far or heard about already is the putback black hole, like Kirby when he sucks up other characters and stuff. Jokic and Zion to me are like just the top putback guys in the league, but for different reasons. Zion is hyper athletic and he can't finish with his right. So he has just realized that his athletic tools and physical tools allow him to just double jump and get on a second jump faster than anybody else. So even if he doesn't finish, he's going to be the first one back up the floor. He'll just start down. Jokic is a lot more tactical and finesse with it. His overall field goal percentage is so high, so that is going to limit it to begin with. But most of his misses, I'm assuming it's just because of his absolutely disgustingly soaking wet touch. He just knows seemingly exactly where the rebound is going to be, and he just like inflates his own efficiency stats, because I don't know exactly what his offensive rebound percentage would be on self-created offensive rebound, on his own misses, basically. It's got to be at the top of the league or very, very close to the top of the league. He is very, very good at putting his own putbacks back. So that would be some analysis on the scheme stuff. Defensively, they are sixth in the league in opponent field goal percentage, sixth lowest, so good sign there. The overall stuff, very brief, like I said. Number one, Jokic is still joking. There are two ways to pronounce a J. Jokic is still joking. Yes. Okay, good. His PER, advanced metrics, advanced stats are sensational. He is the front runner currently for MVP, which, you know, I'm so sorry, Embiid, but here we are. It's probably going to be I don't know, Jokic, SGA, Luka, rotating merry-go-round. I feel like, you know, there's probably going to be some voter fatigue for the Jokic thing, especially if they're kind of coasting here. But again, don't take anything off the table for that guy because somehow he's still getting better, and this is how. Another thing that Draymond mentioned on his podcast after their, torching by the Nuggets, was something that you don't hear that much, or hadn't heard that much, but you've heard more and more in recent years. Jokic is just getting in better shape and is like actually athletic now, which is horrifying. Draymond said that his conditioning was by far the best he'd ever seen, and there were moments when they were running the floor. Again, Draymond playing the 5. He is the defensive anchor for the Warriors, so he is going to be matched up with Jokic primarily. He was like, I had to turn on the burners to keep up with this dude. And even on top of that, his endurance was like, dude, this guy's like not getting tired. Which, first of all, if you are 7 feet tall, it just obviously just requires more energy and conditioning and muscle strength and whatever to propel, that much force or whatever. Secondly, positionally, if you are a big body at center position, you are just getting knocked around inherently significantly more than anybody else, right? You look at Jokic and you just see like 20,000 different scratches and bruises all over his fucking shoulders, and it's kind of gross. But you just like see the battle scars that this dude has and how much physicality he has to deal with. And to then be making a dude who is, half a foot shorter? Draymond's only like 6'6". Jokic is clean 7. Like, if you're making that dude have to really hustle to even keep up with you in the open court, like, that's really impressive. Jokic is 29. I think something to note about that is I'm in my bag now, so feel free to disprove me, but I'm pretty sure like your metabolism and just overall body's ability to build muscle and to whatever recover and all of those things, it actually doesn't slow down to like your early to mid 30s. So like, I actually still think his upward trajectory from a physical profile standpoint is like intact and also happening. It also does help the fact that when your home court is, 5,280 feet in the air and you are used to less oxygen, you are just going to be a better athlete. That is how it is. I'm over here in Southern California, and your Lakers and Clippers are basically at sea level waiting for an earthquake or a tsunami. So it's a little bit different when your red blood cells do not need as much oxygen to perform as business as usual. So anyway, I just think that's a fun little Easter egg. You have this guy who is, well, I guess the last caveat here that I am implicitly assuming, I'm assuming you implicitly know, is like the biggest knock on Jokic for all of his career, for these MVPs and all the doubting before the title last year and whatever, has always been defense and athleticism / physical endurance, and can his body hold up, and why does he sometimes look like a walrus in flip-flops when he runs? Personally, I don't know, but I love it. I hope he never changes, and the fact that he just, again, looks like a walrus out there sometimes, but he has the most soaking wet flip shot you have ever actually seen in your life. He will actually go like entire halves with not touching the rim on like any shot within 15 feet. It's absurd. But all of those haters were bringing up that, all throughout the MVP candidacy. I think the bullshit with Embiid and Doc Rivers back in Philly for campaigning against him for the MVP stuff. The two-way player and the Giannis stuff and all that, whatever. I mean, definitely well-deserved. Giannis is absolutely incredible and is playing unbelievable this season. I can't wait to get to him. But, again, some of that poetic justice and whatnot with... now you have relatively undisputed a top 10 defensive player in the league in Draymond Green. Maybe potentially a top 10, 15 defender of this century, coming out and saying that about him now in terms of his physicality and his conditioning and all that is incredible. And as a consumer and fan of really high-level basketball, that might actually just be it. Like, if Luka actually became a 40% three-point shooter, like, you just don't have to watch. Like, it's like there's not much you can do. So I'm just personally really excited for that. That's it there. All right. The second overall strength thing, the eternal Da Vinci Code, Jokic and Murray. Rules are made to be broken. I know I said I think it's very annoying and reductive to be like, show me it in the playoffs, and I'm not going to even talk about it, and I don't give a shit, and fuck the OKC Thunder, and blah, blah, blah. I got to just actually see somebody figure out a way to stop or even, like, considerably slow down the Jokic and Murray two-man game. The level of cerebral, just whatever, the level of chemistry between the two in screen and rescreen, the level of playmaking pressure that Jokic alone obviously commands at his size and his, again, just level of just cerebral mastery. And then you couple that with the fact that Jamal is the Jimmy Butler of the Western Conference, basically, where, I mean, he's basically proven and validated at this point that he's a top 10 tough shot maker in the playoffs, even post ACL injury. The dude has got ice in his veins, also a low turnover, high IQ player, great shot maker, great competitor. I just don't actually know how you're supposed to play that. People smarter than me, probably the guys at the dunker spot, somebody at them and ask them, like, in theory land, like, how do you even scheme up a way to do it? I don't actually know. I think that they are going to effectively create an advantage every single time, and it is up to them what type of advantage and who will be receiving the advantage that they want to create, and it is virtually unstoppable. Okay, I'm going to stop. Okay, offensive stats. Let's go real quick. All right, for the season, offensive rating, like I said, 12th overall. Effective field goal percentage, 13th overall. Rim field goal percentage, 19th overall. They are 13th in three-point makes. They are 20th in corner three-point makes. And fun Easter egg stat, they are 8 percentage points worse on corner threes when Jamal Murray is on the floor Don't ask me how I figured that out. I just thought that was really interesting. I don't know exactly what that even means. But potential chink in the armor, maybe. Send this to whoever, who was in the 6th seed, New Orleans. So if it ended today, send this video to the Pels when they're not bashing and joshing with Stephen A. All right. Last but not least, and definitely not least, is free throw rate. They are 26th in the league in free throw rate, which is not good. Schematically for offense, they are 27th in putback points per play, and they are dead last in the league in transition points scored per possession. So, recap really quick. Their offense has not looked good. Jokic is putting up incredible impact statistics. Particularly what worries me. Number one is free throws almost always. Jokic is a lot of finesse. Jamal is even more finesse, especially post-injury. If anything, you have to kind of really look for chinks in the armor here. And, it's up to you to discern how much of this is coasting and not. But one is the transition points scored, the free throw rate. Let me put a bow on that. I'm sorry, that should be one. I don't like how few free throws they are getting, particularly with Michael Porter Jr., he's like 26. Aaron Gordon is big and slow. Jokic is, relatively speaking, on the slower side, but apparently a lot faster now. Christian Brown and Watson, in my opinion, these guys should be leading the charge on these super high-flying, fast-break transition, let's get fouled, let's score in transition type of runs, and Michael Porter Jr. Clearly that hasn't been the case. They haven't been super successful there, and that worries me. So that is my thought there. I guess I just don't actually know who can slow the game down for them at the line. And I know I said that Jamal is a Jimmy Butler of the West. That is mostly in a clutch performance setting. Jimmy Butler is the king of free throws in the playoffs. He will average 15 a game, and he just knows how to do that really, really well. Jamal does not know how to do that, or does not do that very often, so I don't know about that. The three-point makes thing is interesting. I think that, again, the crispness of the passing from Jokic and whatnot, it's just, they are very much a machine, from the tall wings in the front court to the Jokic Murray in the whatever, front, middle, back court, whatever the fuck. I just don't actually know how much that is a concern, but with KCP and Michael Porter Jr. out there, I would think that they should at least be holding water there. And then also with Brown and Watson too, I don't really see them as being super threatening outside shooters, which I don't necessarily love. Particularly when you think about the Jokic Murray two-man game and how you're going to defend it, well, it ultimately comes down to a pick your poison thing, right? What advantage do we want? What advantage, who is it? And so might actually come down to a thing where it's all right, Christian Brown, Michael Porter Jr., you're up. We're going to double Jokic. We're going to leave you open. If you can burn us 3-4 times before we'll actually acknowledge it, but that is what you have to kind of do against that. So we'll see what happens with the threes and free throws. The putback points per play is really weird. They are third in the league in putback plays per miss, so they have a lot of opportunities to get putbacks. They are not necessarily capitalizing a lot on them, which is really bizarre to me, and the disparity is enormous, so that they're 27th in transition points per play. Or think of it as points per transition play, but they are third in, or putback, okay, sorry, my bad. They are the third best team in generating putback plays per miss. Every time they miss, they do get a lot of opportunities for putbacks, but they are the fourth worst team in converting those putback plays into points, actually scoring off of those. I don't know how that is possible. especially when I'm pretty sure Jokic is driving a lot of at least generating the plays. So weird. Transition points scored per possession. There is no way that you can have Peyton Watson and Christian Brown and Michael Porter Jr. on your team and be dead last in transition points. I know your half court is just going to be really good for the reasons I just laid out. It is very hard to actually win and stymie a half court set from the Nuggets with the way that they play, but I just am astounded by that. I don't love that. Defensively, similarly speaking, their opponent transition scoring, they are 18th in the league, so they do give up, they're below league average when it comes to giving up points in transition too, so not amazing. So for the overall weaknesses, I have, the offensive unsteadiness. There are a lot of reasons where, it doesn't really look great overall. So we'll see where that treads. Transition is key. So they are last in the league in scoring in transition. They are below average in defending in transition, so not amazing. And then, of course, I have the counting on the kiddies stuff with Brown and Watson. I really, really do think that they are going, they at least will have the opportunity to pretty significantly impact some of these games coming off of the bench and, backfilling for Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., or KCP, whatever. I just don't actually know what they excel at, and that kind of alarms me. Other than the high-flying stuff, which, again, I know it's whatever, it is Jokic and whatever, I just think diversifying some of that off. If you're not going to be good at threes, you should probably be good at the rim, but you're not that good at that. You're really, really good in the mid-range, but you get a lot of offensive rebounds, but you don't capitalize on putback plays, but then you don't get back in transition, and then you don't score in There are just some weird kind of things, man. I don't know. I am very much riding the coattail of this team is going to wake up when they want to, and I think they're going to be very, very good, like I said. But at least so far, with the gas pedal maybe at 45 degrees, maybe 50 degrees, I guess it would be 40 degrees. We'll give them that. All right, intangibles. Number one, of course, is continuity. They just lost Bruce Brown, and they have literally the exact same lineup otherwise. So more chemistry, more internal development. Guys like each other. Guys know each other. That's big. Two is experience. You guys won the title last year. Perfect. You have the most recent memory and experience of what it's like, so good for you. Three is identity, the well-oiled machine. Murray and Jokic are going to create an advantage every single time, and it is up to the defense to pick what they want. Do not give Jokic a mismatch. He will score. Do not double him, or he will pick you apart. And even if you somehow ice him and Murray in some insane way, Murray is just one of the best tough shot makers in the entire league. So I don't know. Good luck. Fourth, just mentioned that. Closer, so I guess not the same thing as tough shot maker, but, closers are closers. He can make big shots and big moments. That's just really, really important. Jamal alone is just really, really made a name for himself in that department, so don't really have to elaborate too much on that. Intangible weaknesses. Number one is depth, right? We are going to be seeing Christian Brown and Peyton Watson, two kids under probably 22. I'd have to confirm that, but I can't imagine they're older than that. I know we just talked about the OKC Thunder not too long ago, but, that just is what it is, man. That's going to be a thing. Hopefully they're up for the moment and they can not only hold water but be a positive and not get too in their own feelings. If, let's be honest, if I'm game planning against the Nuggets and I only get 3 minutes a quarter when Jokic is on the bench, I am going right the fuck at Christian Brown every time. I'm going right at Peyton Watt, as much as I can. I am stepping on the throats of these
young kids that don't have a ton of hands-on experience, direct experience, whatever. So hopefully you guys are ready for that. And then 2, I just wanted to note health, especially with Murray. Obviously, he's very, very key. Jokic just played a ton without him. The guys, I think overall it will be okay. Barring whatever insane like season-ending or playoff-ending injury, but I just want to call that out mostly for Murray. Okay, cool. Overall takeaways. The offense hasn't been pretty, especially from 3. So keep your eye on that. We'll see. Something to monitor. And then secondly is transition is a chore. They score the absolute least number of points per possession in transition, and they are below average in transition defense. So I don't know. How bad do you want it? I feel like transition defense specifically is kind of an effort thing. So honestly, we'll see once the stakes rise up a little bit. Focus areas, number 1, stay healthy at all costs. Have that. Build up the confidence of the young guys. That should probably be first. I think that if anything, that is maybe the only way this team could actually kind of crumble, air quote, is if Christian Brown and Watson just absolutely take a shit when they get on the court and the minutes without Jokic or even with him or whatever, if you're a non-factor, things like that. So if I'm the Nuggets, I'm making sure they're feeling real good, real confident before the start of the playoffs. And then 3, something I didn't mention yet that I just really, really noticed in their run last year is get the same defensive intensity from Michael Porter Jr. that he had last year. Really quick context there. If you didn't know this, Michael Porter Jr. is like a 6'10" jump shooter. Doesn't love contact. Honestly, if anything, he's probably the first guy I would point to for let's get the free throw rate up for the team. We are the 5th lowest team in free throw rate. But he can shoot over everybody. Think of Kevin Durant. And he can also just like microwave score. Like he can score like 14 and a quarter sometimes. But he upped his defensive intensity last year in the playoffs, seemingly out of absolutely nowhere. I forget what the series was, but the series was when I don't even know. I honestly just kind of feel like it was like a switch flip thing, and like somebody said something to him in the fucking locker room or whatever before like the like I remember in the conference finals against the Lakers, like he might have been averaging like a couple blocks a game or something. And again, he's very, very long and very tall. So it was kind of like why isn't this the way you're doing your business anyway, more regularly? I don't know. But yeah, it kind of felt like, I don't know if it was right before the conference finals against the Lakers or before. But yeah, it was like somebody just like tapped his driver's side window before he went home after like the second round of the playoffs. It's like, yo, dude, by the way, do you mind blocking the shit out of like Rui Hachimura next round a little bit? And he's like, yeah, sure, I got it. And he looked great. And I was like, what are we doing? All right, let's just do that. I don't know. It seems maybe it's a mental thing and he just felt comfortable with it or whatever. Maybe he was pissed off. I have no idea. But hopefully they can galvanize that and get that going again this year, because, again, it was a real, real difference maker when you can have help defense for Michael Porter Jr. at his size and length. He should be significantly better at that. And similarly with transition defense, when you are that big and some of your on-off on defense and some of the film doesn't look there's a big part of me that defaults to the school of thought that is like it's mostly effort. Just fucking do it. If you want to do it, you can do it. So do it. That's what I would say. Cool. Floor for this team, I'm saying the conference finals. Frick, man. How are you going to slow down Jokic? Obviously, we'll get to that in a more appropriate breakdown. They did say last year, and I said this during the Minnesota breakdown thing, Bruce Brown and others, Minnesota gave them the most trouble, and that, I think, makes sense because you think about their strengths in their system. Their strength is we have the best passer maybe of all time, and we are very in tune with each other, kind of like Oklahoma City in terms of systematic, schematic, who's cutting where are the passing lanes going to be based on where everybody's moved, whatever. And Minnesota just has the insane depth and length and defensive instincts and talent to at least make those passing lanes smaller and harder to get the ball through. Not to mention just, the overall instinct and just nose that guys like McDaniels have in terms of just sniffing out plays and shit. McDaniels didn't even play in that first round series last year when Denver played him, and they beat him in 5 or 6 or something. But they didn't even have McDaniels, and Denver was like, they give us the most trouble. And I'm like, okay. Apparently Gobert was hurt. McDaniels didn't even play. Naz Reid didn't play either. He had surgery or something. So anyway, things to think about. Do I think Timberwolves win 2 rounds of the playoffs? I have no idea. Who knows? So that is the floor for me. Conference finals, and then the ceiling, obviously title. It is super strange when I just think back to it sometimes, and I actually have to remind myself that the Nuggets did not beat the Celtics in the finals last year. They just torched the Heat. God bless the Heat. God bless Jimmy Butler. God bless Spoelstra. But, what was the joke about that series? That was this is going to be the worst ratings finals in NBA history of just 2 nonsense franchises that no one gives a shit about. And it's yes, there is that, but then also the Nuggets were just so much better. It just wasn't even a good series. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, so am I making a request to the Celtics to not get their shit rocked by Jimmy Butler again this year? Maybe. Although the poetic justice of the unbelievable talent and domination that the Celtics have put together this season, and if they were to lose in the second round or even the conference finals or something to the Heat, that might be the funniest thing of all time. And Jason Tatum and whatever, they might actually never really live it down. Anyway, sorry, moving to the Eastern Conference there, but that is basically it, guys. For Denver, I said this one was going to be short, and hopefully it was. I gotta see, but overall takeaways, they're just kind of reigning champs lifestyle. Keep it moving. Make sure the young guys get reps and get confident. And Jamal, keep that knee healthy, and we should be okay. All right, guys, that is it. And stick around for the next team. Cheers.
Thank you all so much for tuning in. It really, really means a lot. Clearly, I care a lot, and it was a lot of work, but a lot of fun producing each one of these episodes here. And so if you want to support us, if you want to yell at us, if you want to just tell us, a proverbial pat on the back, it goes a long way. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at ThinkShank, and you can email us at TheThinkShank. I'm Skyler Reinhardt, and you can find me on Twitter at ReinhardtSkyler and Instagram at SkylerSamReinhardt. Thank you all so much again, and so excited for the rest of the season, guys. Until next time.